Aboard the Alderaanian cruiser known as the Tantive IV, the hyperdrive motivator is broken, and the stolen plans for the technological superweapon known as the Death Star were in danger of falling back into the hands of the Empire. Unfortunately for the rebellion, Imperial Stormtroopers soon boarded the ship, and Princess Leia was forced to hide, so sent the plans to R2-D2 and C3PO to give to Obi-Wan Kenobi on the planet of Tatooine. Although the plans were safe, Captain Antilles was killed by the Sith apprentice Darth Vader, and Leia was stunned by Imperial Stormtroopers, then taken into the custody of Vader. The Sith interrogated Leia for the location of the secret rebel base, but she remained silent despite the use of droids and Sith persuasion. In a demonstration of power, Grand Moff Tarkin used the superweapon to destroy the home of Leia in Alderaan as Vader watched on, with his daughter in pain. But what if Vader found out that Leia was his daughter in A New Hope? What would Vader do in response? How would Palpatine find out? As you're going to realise, the galaxy would look a whole lot different. Darth Vader walked through the corridor of the Tantive IV, brushing aside the rebel officers into the wall, and they joined those who had fallen into the hands of the stormtroopers. The Sith apprentice heard blaster fire from all over the ship, and found Leia Organa lying on the floor after being struck by a stun blast. Vader knelt down, feeling the cybernetics straining with the effort, and felt a connection with the captured princess. Vader orders his troopers to do a thorough search of the ship, whilst he brought Leia to the Death Star, under the pretense of interrogating her. With the officers elsewhere, Vader reached out into the Force, and Leia was confused, until the Sith Lord started to breathe heavier, realising that the woman in front of him was his daughter. Vader should have noticed it the moment he boarded the Tantive IV, as she looked painfully similar to Padme. Against all of his master's teachings, Vader removed his mask piece by piece, and Leia was even more terrified of the charred visage in front of her. Vader's voice was not that of a killing machine, but he had become softly spoken and told Leia that she was his daughter. The rebel princess sat back in the interrogation chair in shock, as she could not believe she had a connection with such a monster, and accused Vader of lies. Leia, however, soon felt an overwhelming chill wash over her, as she got a sinking feeling that Vader was right, and she could use this to help the rebellion. Leia begins to tell Vader that Palpatine had been lying to him, and the Sith apprentice begins to capitulate, writhing on the floor in agony. Leia is unwilling to forgive Vader for all of the crimes he had committed, but would allow him to redeem himself if he could help defeat the Empire. Vader placed his mask back on and motioned Leia to join him and Tarkin. Ensuring that no Imperial officers were around him, Vader ignited his lightsaber and plunged into Tarkin's back before he could use the power of the Death Star, and dragged his body into his quarters to dispose of later. For now, Vader planned on remaining with the Empire and passing on key pieces of intelligence to assist Leia in the rebellion, until he was able to defeat his master, and then allowed Leia to leave in an Imperial TIE fighter. Aboard the starfighter, Leia could not believe her fortune at avoiding death at the hands of the mighty Vader, and she focused on finding the droids on the desert planet of Tatooine. The princess landed roughly in a sand dune, annoyed at the sandstorm disrupting her landing, but staggered out and looked through her macro binoculars to look for any kind of structure. Leia managed to see a small mound hidden amongst the valleys of sand, and slowly ventured towards it. As the hut grew larger and larger, she saw the person she wished to see in Obi-Wan Kenobi. The former Jedi Master looked visibly worn out and greeted Leia into his home. Leia asked if the droids had reached him, and Obi-Wan shook his head, so they headed outside to search for them. On the way, Leia asked Obi-Wan if Darth Vader was really her father, and the Jedi Master turned away in shame as he nodded in acceptance. Leia let out a roar so loud and violent that nearby Jawas began to scuttle, and it had conveniently brought them to the right place. Obi-Wan uses his negotiation skills and is able to take R2-D2 and C3PO for a fair price, just as he sees Luke and Uncle Owen out of the corner of his eye. Owen Lars looks furiously at Obi-Wan, but Leia is intrigued by Luke, sensing a similar connection to which she had had with Vader, and muttered that he must be her brother. Leia gazed at Obi-Wan for answers, and the Jedi repeated that Luke was indeed her brother. Owen was disgusted as all of his attempts to move Luke away from the dark path of his father had been ruined, and Luke was out of his hands. Luke is puzzled, but follows Leia and Obi-Wan to the Jedi Master's hut, where a new stage of his life would begin. That is it for part 1 of What If Darth Vader Found Out Leia Was His Daughter. If you'd like to see a part 2 soon, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.